Josh, give us a few examples of how this would work.
Well, basically, if you have a big bill moving or maybe a big defense contractor, if you can get that information early enough, that can have a big effect on markets and on companies that can give you an advantage as an investor if you can get that information before the rest of the market. And then there are other cases that shade into more of a gray legal area. We learned last week, for instance, that one of these political intelligence firms found out about the internal workings of a Fed meeting in 2012 where Chairman Bernanke was thinking about a third round of quantitative easing. So obviously, if that's something you can find out about early, you can act on it. Unfortunately, that's not legal, and so there is now an ongoing criminal investigation into the source of that leak.
Well, yeah, how do these political intelligence companies get their information?
Well, it's a good question. Oftentimes they hire former White House officials, former congressional staffers. When I was doing reporting for this piece, calling around to different people I've been told do this work, different firms, a lot of them were pumping me for information. Sometimes they'll call up a reporter after a story and say, you know, can you tell me more about this? So really the answer is you get the information from anywhere you can and try and find something that is actionable and tradable that you have that other people don't have that can provide an investing advantage.
Well, do politicians' offices actually provide information? And do they have an incentive to?
Again, this is a very gray area. Yes, they're in the habit of providing information to reporters, to lobbyists who work on bills, and so part of what these firms do is try and get in on some of these phone calls, find out about these briefings, and it's tough because the lines aren't as clearly delineated as one might expect, and there has been pushback from some major members of Congress to try and regulate this industry, most recently through the 2012 Stock Act. And Wall Street was actually able to step in and prevent the intelligence industry from being regulated. So we know that it's a big industry, but nobody has a clear idea of exactly how big or how far-reaching it is.
But hang on, if reporters know, it's arguably public information, right? I mean, if reporters can find out, then anybody can find out. No offense to us, obviously.
No, well, I'll try not to take offense at that. That's certainly what I try and do. The issue is really, are they getting material non-public information, even beyond what reporters are getting? And there's certainly some examples of cases where they are. There was a famous case that's also part of the Securities Exchange investigation where news of a Medicare rate hike leaked a day before the announcement. You saw a bunch of the big insurers move higher. I don't know any reporter that had that story, but obviously a few big investors and hedge funds had been tipped off, made a lot of money. It's not clear, again, whether that was legal, but it just shows you that there is information that the press can't get that sometimes these political intelligence folks are able to get and make a lot of money from.
Yeah. Is there any evidence that politicians are actually getting kickbacks from these political intelligence companies by way of campaign contributions?
Well, they certainly get contributions, and one of the methods that these firms told me they use is oftentimes they will be big donors to important politicians. They wouldn't call it anything as explicitly as a kickback for information, but by virtue of being an important donor, often they are able to get a senator on the phone, get a congressman on the phone, be able to have sort of a private briefing, or even to suggest that the congressman take X, Y, and Z action that could potentially help some of the firms that they're invested in. So again, I know I keep going back to this term. It's a very gray area, and it's a very profitable one if you're able to do this kind of work and sort of keep under the noses of regulators and congressmen.